The 2025 European Championships promised to be a race for the ages, and it delivered. From the start line in the heart of France, the air was electric, the kind of tension that only exists on days when history is waiting to be written. On the grid stood the names that define an era: Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard, Remco Evenepoel, and Juan Ayuso. 4 giants, 4 different ways of understanding cycling, yet all chasing the same dream: to wear the blue jersey with the golden stars of Europe. From kilometre 1, the intensity was unmistakable. The 200-kilometre route, winding through climbs and technical descents, demanded not only strength, but courage and strategy. The Côte de Saint-Romain-de-l'Air and the Mur de Val d'Enfer loomed as the natural judges of the day, climbs where medals would be won and hearts broken. The French crowds filled every roadside, waving flags, shouting names, turning the hills into an amphitheatre of pure cycling passion. Pogacar arrived hungry. He had conquered almost everything this season, but this title, the European crown, was still missing from his collection. Vingegaard, the calculating rival, was looking for redemption after an uneven year. Evenepoel came determined to stamp his authority on the one-day classics, and young Ayuso, calm and focused, was dreaming of breaking through among the titans. From the very first ascent of the Col du Moulin Avant, the pace was relentless. National teams quickly took shape. Slovenia and Belgium asserted control, Spain stayed alert, and Denmark fought to keep Vingegaard safe. Unlike most national races, there were no clear hierarchies, just raw, unleashed talent. Pogacar watched, Vingegaard analysed, Remco twitched with nervous energy, and Ayuso waited. It was a game of chess played at 45 kilometres per hour, with every move carrying risk. The battle for European gold had begun, and everyone sensed that when the dust settled, only one man would stand above the rest. The first big shock came far earlier than anyone expected. On the initial ascent of the Côte de Saint-Romain-de-l'Air, the race exploded. Slovenia took control with a fierce tempo, forcing the first selection of the day. Pogacar's teammates Jan Tratnik and Domen Novak set a crushing rhythm to keep attacks in check. Belgium reacted through Evenepoel, unwilling to give Slovenia an inch. But then, in a moment no one saw coming, Jonas Vingegaard cracked. More than 100 kilometres from the finish, the Danish champion was dropped. A gasp swept through the peloton. The double tour winner was out of contention before the real battle had even begun. From that point on, the dynamic shifted completely. Pogacar, Evenepoel, and Ayuso now carried the weight of the race. Behind them, early breakaways tried to form: Daan Hule, Matthias Vacek, Danny van der Tuuk, but the pace was too severe. On the second passage of the Mur de Val d'Enfer, Belgium pushed again, tightening the screw, and Slovenia responded immediately. Pogacar, calm and perfectly positioned, climbed with effortless control while the rest began to fade. By 88 kilometres to go, the group of favourites had taken shape almost by elimination. Pogacar, Evenepoel, Ayuso, Seixas, Sivakov, and Scaroni. They rode in silence, exchanging wary glances, knowing that the next move could decide everything. Pogacar still hadn't attacked, but his every pedal stroke carried a warning. The rest of the field was gone, reduced to spectators in a race that had turned into a generational duel. Pogacar and Evenepoel, 2 world champions past and present, against the rising force of Ayuso and the new faces of European cycling. Every corner, every glance, every turn of the pedals added tension. The calm before the storm was fading fast. Everyone knew that Pogacar's attack wasn't a matter of if, but when. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. The tension that had been building all day reached its breaking point. With 76 kilometres to go on the third ascent of the Côte de Saint-Romain-de-l'Air, today Pogacar stood up on the pedals, and the race changed forever. Up until that moment, he had ridden with surgical patience, analysing every move, every glance. But when he launched his attack, it was devastating. One brutal acceleration, and the peloton disintegrated. Remco Evenepoel, the only rider capable of answering, tried to follow. For a few seconds, he held Pogacar's wheel, but the elastic snapped. Pogacar glanced back, saw the gap, and hit again. From that instant, the rest were racing for silver. His cadence was smooth, almost mechanical, as he opened up a gap that grew with every turn of the pedals. On the descent, he took risks, dancing through each corner with complete confidence. It wasn't reckless, it was instinctive, the control of a rider who knows exactly how far he can go. Behind him, chaos. Evenepoel tried to organise the chase, dragging Juan Ayuso, Paul Seixas and Cristian Scaroni with him, but the Slovenian was already gone. On the next passage of the Mur de Val d'Enfer, Pogacar was flying, turning a race into a one-man exhibition. 40 seconds ahead, then 50, then a full minute, and still his expression didn't change. Calm, relentless, unshakable. By the time the camera zoomed in on his face, Pogacar looked untouchable. He wasn't just racing to win, he was racing to dominate. This was more than an attack, it was a declaration, the kind only the greats can make. While Pogacar soared ahead, the battle behind him turned into a story of pride and pain. Remco Evenepoel refused to give up. The Belgian world champion took charge of the chase group, pulling relentlessly, his face twisted with effort. Behind him, Juan Ayuso dug deep, trying to hold on, while Seixas and Scaroni fought just to survive. They were chasing a ghost. Pogacar was already in another world. At 57 kilometres to go, they hit the Mur de Val d'Enfer again. Evenepoel barked for turns, desperate for help, but no one could match his pace. Ayuso gave what he could. Seixas hung on by a thread. Scaroni began to fade. Pogacar's advantage ticked up, 40 seconds, 50, then over a minute. The television helicopter hovered above him, showing a lone figure slicing through the French countryside, smooth and perfect, while chaos unfolded behind. At 43 kilometres from the finish, Remco's patience ran out. He'd been waiting for collaboration that never came, and he snapped. Just before the top of the climb, he launched a ferocious attack. The group shattered instantly. Seixas and Scaroni were gone, Ayuso couldn't respond, and Evenepoel rode off alone. It wasn't about catching Pogacar anymore. It was about honour, about showing that champions fight, even when victory is out of reach. Behind, Ayuso kept pushing, riding smart, steady, determined. His effort was quiet but impressive, holding position and proving once again that he belongs among the elite. As they entered the final 20 kilometres, the order was set. Pogacar alone up front, Evenepoel chasing in no man's land, Seixas and Ayuso battling behind. The gold was decided, but the spectacle was far from over. Because even when Pogacar steals the headlines, those who chase him still write their own stories. The final kilometres felt timeless. The crowd's roar echoed through the streets as Tadej Pogacar approached the finish line, alone, untouchable, transcendent. He crossed it with his arms raised high, his smile wide, his face covered in the effort of genius. European champion. It wasn't just a win, it was a message. At 26, Pogacar had already conquered the Tour de France, the World Championships, and the Monuments, and now he added the European crown to his empire. What he produced that day in France wasn't merely domination, it was art on two wheels. Behind him, Remco Evenepoel crossed the line second, utterly spent, but unbroken. His ride was an act of defiance, a silver medal earned not by luck, but by pride. For 40 kilometres, he fought the wind and his limits alone, refusing to surrender. And for that, the crowd cheered him like a winner. In third came Paul Seixas, the young Frenchman whose bronze felt like a revelation. His poise under pressure, holding off stronger rivals, announced the arrival of a new name in European cycling. Just behind, Juan Ayuso finished fifth, the youngest of the elite contenders, yet already racing with the mind of a veteran. He didn't have the legs to challenge for gold, but his composure, timing and tenacity proved once again that Spain's future in cycling is in safe hands. On the podium, the symbolism was impossible to ignore. Pogacar in gold, Evenepoel in silver, Seixas in bronze. 3 generations, 3 different philosophies, united by the same will to suffer and to shine. Pogacar stood tall, draped in the blue jersey with golden stars as the Slovenian anthem played over the crowd. He looked ahead, not down, knowing that each triumph only feeds his hunger for the next. This victory wasn't just another line on his palmarès. It was a statement of dominance, of fearlessness, of love for the sport itself. Pogacar attacks when others wait. He risks everything when others calculate. That's why, when he wins, it feels bigger than a race. In France, on the slopes of Saint-Romain-de-l'Erps and the Mur de Val d'Enfer, Tadej Pogacar reminded the world that legends aren't built by chance. They're built by courage. And his legend, once again, just grew stronger.